Park skulptura u Parikali, pograničnom gradiću, mnogi smatraju najčudnijim mjestom u Finskoj. Lokalni samouki kipar ovdje je pola stoljeća izrađivao kamene skulpture čudnih očiju, koje navodno imaju i ljudske zube. On je umro, skulpture su ostale kao turistička atrakcija. Park jeze, kako ga mnogi mještani nazivaju, nalazi se nedaleko od granice s Rusijom, zemljom zbog koje su Finci dugo bili pogrbljeni. Često su se u prošlosti bojali i vlastite sjene, kamoli ne sovjetske ili ruske.
Russian information war was based on inevitability of Russia, that it is mighty, it is strong, that it has quite a lot of resources. That was kind of a thing that they were putting out through different channels, and to a large extent we believed what the Russians were saying, and that was naive, that was risky.
Na ratna razaranja u Europi 21. stoljeća Finci su odgovorili jednoznačno: želimo u NATO. Kremlj je poručio da će takav scenarij, o kojemu Finci potiho razglabaju još od raspada SSSR-a, izazvati snažan ruski odgovor.
The question is, if Finland is attacked, do you think that we should take armed resistance even if the end result is unsure, meaning that we might lose? 75% said yes. Only 1% says that they don't want Finland to take armed resistance, and 85% of the people say that they are willing to do within their own capabilities.
Sada je za Fince put samo jedan, vodi isključivo na zapad. Novo normalno na finski način, uz ključnu riječ njihova nacionalnog bića, SISU.
SISU, in other words, determination. It means that we never give up. We never give up, that's clear. And that gives us strength every day. Very important thing for us.
It's a mental state of mind. It's something you have to struggle all the time. You have to beat the winter. You have to beat the big neighbor that you have. We have to, somehow survive here in the north. So it's also something very genetical. We get it from our mothers when we are born and from our fathers.
Ni 50 km od Helsinkija jedno je od 4 središta finske mornarice, odande se upravlja obalnom flotom i obalnom brigadom. Na mornaričkim poligonima svake godine obuku prolazi oko 3200 ročnika. Svaki Finac služi vojni rok pola godine, 9 mjeseci ili godinu dana. Dio je to finske kulture.
Our defense system, this general conscription, large reserves, but also some very high-end state-of-the-art key capabilities. That package seems to work. It's quite efficient and economical to maintain, and it meets the requirements for the current security situation.
Nedavno istraživanje pokazalo je da više od trećine ispitanika želi obvezni vojni rok i za žene.
I want to test my limits this way. It's very popular to women nowadays go here. There are a lot of women, more women that there have been in past 10 years or so. And also I was thinking that it may be fun, and it is.
Finland was born in a civil war, so I think it's kind of been a part of our culture that every man serves. And, it's very important to keep our country safe, and it's really a part of our national pride.
Dok su Švedska i Poljska primjerice nakon kraja hladnog rata ukidale obvezno služenje vojnog roka, Finska ga je zadržala. Nacija od 5,5 milijuna stanovnika ima ratnu vojnu snagu od oko 280.000 vojnika, uz 900.000 uvježbanih rezervista. Helsinki poručuje da su svi bili kao mi, europske članice NATO-a sada bi imale najmanje 15 do 20 milijuna rezervista.
Our neighbors are really powerful, and we have lots of border with them, and we need to be ready all times, and we have always been like this small country that is looks like easy to invade and stuff, but we have stand our ground because we have this service. Everyone needs to do it.
The idea that you would give up territorial defense in order to only have an army which would take part in UN operations or NATO in cooperation with NATO kind of expeditionary forces was absolutely alien to Finland. We never even contemplated the idea that we would give up territorial defense.
Imperativ u podsvijesti svake generacije bio je izgradnja nacionalne obrane u kontinuitetu, jer puno je skuplje za malu zemlju stvarati je ispočetka kad to zatreba. Finska je možda i jedina veća europska zemlja koja u svakom trenutku može aktivirati toliko utreniranih rezervista.
We still host the memory of our own bad experience from Russia, and everybody still thinks that yes, it is possible that once again there will be a conflict.
Finska oduvijek živi s golemim geopolitičkim pritiskom na plećima. U percepciji mnogih već dugo je svojevrsna nordijska inačica vojne krajine, tampon zona prema Rusiji. Jedan bivši finski ambasador u Moskvi i više nego plastično opisao je dosadašnji odnos Helsinkija i Sjevernoatlantskog saveza, pušenje bez uvlačenja.
I think NATO was, this like big bear, we were kind of scared to join it due to the repercussions, but due to the fact that Russia started that attacking war in Europe, I think that kind of like removed the scare in a way that now it's something compulsory that we have to actually do instead of, just thinking about it for 20 years.
Public opinion in Finland has also been very stable prior to this war in Ukraine, with about 60% against NATO membership, 20-25% for.
Finska vanjska i sigurnosna politika dugoročne su politike. Nisu dio izbornih kampanja, ističe najdugovječniji finski ministar vanjskih poslova koji je na toj funkciji u 2 navrata proveo 11 godina. Donedavno nije bio za članstvo u NATO-u, sada jest.
We do not expect any military attacks or anything like that, but the Russians do have potential for airspace violations or cyber attacks, etc. So we are prepared for that. But we are not professing that this will necessarily come about. What we would like to see is that Russia understands our reasons, because it's just to enhance our own security.
U prošlosti su za članstvo u NATO-u bile samo 2 finske parlamentarne stranke, no nisu inzistirale na pitanju koje u javnosti nije prolazilo. A onda se gotovo preko noći parlament s više od 95% zastupničkih glasova izjašnjava za ulazak zemlje u Zapadni vojni savez.
After the invasion and accession to Crimea, the Finnish political elite decided that it has 2 options. The first option is to strengthen our own national military and keep the door open to NATO. The second option was to strengthen our own military, but to seek membership in NATO. And at that time, the first option was selected. And when Russia started its war in Ukraine, the elite immediately opted for the second solution. It didn't take more than 3 weeks to change this consensus.
A total change of Finnish foreign policy, and the reason is Putin's war. The fact that Russia attacked a neighboring country. With this, Russia destroyed its relationship with the West, including with Finland. There's no way going back. There's no way to think about business as usual. There's a break in relations and a break in trust.
S Rusima su Finci kroz povijest itekako ratovali. U posljednjih 1000 godina u raznim povijesnim okolnostima čak 32 puta. Najveći ožiljak na psihi nacije ostavio je Drugi svjetski rat, kada je Finska sa snažnom sovjetskom armadom ratovala 2 put. Nakon više od 3 mjeseca žilovog otpora, brojčano znatno slabiji, izgubili su poznati Zimski rat. 11% teritorija i 1/3 predratnih ekonomskih resursa uz 26.000 poginulih vojnika i civila. Ali izborili su mirovni sporazum s SSSR-om i ostali neovisni. Sovjeti ih nikad nisu okupirali. Nacija koja se stoga danas lako poistovjećuje s Ukrajincima ne ostavlja mjesta dvojbi. Mi smo spremni.
We are shaped by our history, definitely. So in a winter war and a continuation war, we lost 90,000 soldiers out of population of 3.5 million. Same time, United States had the population about 150 million and they lost about 400,000. So in comparison, we lost 10 times more soldiers to defend our freedom. Every family lost somebody.
Finland 1939, the Winter War, and Ukraine now resemble each other. Stalin denied the right of Finland to exist. Putin denies the right of Ukraine to exist. The Finnish army was superior in its tactics and its morale, its fighting will. The same goes for the Ukrainian army.
Veći dio 70. godina prošlog stoljeća posvetio je usavršavanju ruskoga, bavio se tadašnjim Sovjetskim savezom. Nakon povratka s diplomatske službe u Moskvi i tadašnjem Leningradu, uključio se u oblikovanje finske sigurnosne politike. Inicirao je ukidanje ograničavanja suvereniteta koje je Pariškim mirovnim sporazumom iz 1947. Finskoj nametnuo SSSR.
We have a nuclear superpower as our neighbor, which is unreliable and unpredictable. There's no way we can solve that problem. That problem will stay. But we've so far, during the war and after the war, been able to handle that problem. Now we have to handle it as a NATO member.
What Finland brings to the NATO is, one thing is that we have competence and knowledge how to operate up north in winter conditions and in northern part of the Europe.
U hladnoratovskoj eri Finska skrušeno vodi politiku nezamjeranja Moskvi, dok stidljivo kroči putem integracije s Europom i Zapadom, njeguje dobre odnose s velikim bratom na istoku.
The policy of neutrality was the best alternative left for Finland after the Allied powers on Yalta decided that Finland will stay in the sphere of influence of the Soviet Union. The other alternative would have been a membership in the Warsaw Pact, which would have destroyed our sovereignty.
Hladnoratovski termin finlandizacija od 70. godina zrcali upravo tu pragmatičnu strategiju preživljavanja. Moćna država tjera manju susjednu da se suzdržava od suprotstavljanja njezinim vanjsko-političkim ciljevima, ali joj dopušta zadržavanje njezine formalne neovisnosti i vlastita političkog sustava. U finskom slučaju uključivalo je to i sovjetski utjecaj na formiranje vlade u Helsinkiju, ali i ograničavanje slobode govora, s obzirom na to da su stvari vezane uz Moskvu među domaćim političarima i medijima bile temeljito pročešljane i autocenzurirane, do mjere koje je čudila i sovjetske lidere.
Finlandization, always had to remember, there was a West German curse used against Willy Brandt. There was kind of the opposition to Ostpolitik was saying that you're going to be Finlandized. And we, as you rightly put it, we don't like the expression because it uses the good name of our country. And it never described Finland. But the fact is that we had to arrange ourselves with the superpower next door.
Soviet Union reserved the right to interfere in the foreign policy of Finland and in the domestic affairs of Finland. So Finlandization was negative influence, meddling in Finnish democracy. So it is really badly looked upon in Finland, and we don't recommend that to anybody. So Ukrainians can have their own way, but let's not adapt Finlandization.
Tek 1992. napušten je sporazum o prijateljstvu koji je Stalin zapravo nametnuo Finskoj, a koji je u mnogome ograničavao njezin suverenitet. I sa Stalinom, ali i s Brežnjevom i Hruščovim, Finci su morali hodati po jajima i birati pametno bitke koje vode, ako ih uopće vode.
That demanded diplomatic skill and also kind of a discipline. And this discipline described the Finnish relationship to Russia, to the Soviet Union, but also how we approached Western Europe. We did not miss a single train. We joined the EFTA arrangement, which was British-led, and we joined the EEC by signing a free trade agreement. So we took every single step. And when the world changed, just like it has changed now, when the situation in Europe changed, just like it has changed now, we joined the European Union.
Dok je za Švedsku ulazak u Europsku uniju sredinom 90-ih primarno bio ekonomsko pitanje, Finska je ulaskom u EU iskoračila u sferu solidarnosti Zapada i prestala biti neutralna. To više nitko nije mogao preispitivati, kamoli tih godina slaba Rusija.
For Finland it was of course also economic, very much an economic issue, but it was mostly security policy. Joining the homecoming into the Europe where we always have, which is our home. We've always felt to be part of Western Europe.
Ovo sklonište u mirnodopsko doba dijelom služi kao podzemna garaža, dijelom kao sportski centar. Finski zakon o civilnoj obrani kaže da sva skloništa trebaju biti stavljena u funkciju u roku od 72 sata. Njihova raširena mreža počela se graditi još 40. godina prošlog stoljeća. Ovakva skloništa mogu pružiti zaštitu od gotovo svake vrste napada, uključujući i kemijski. Imaju stalnu opskrbu vodom i zrakom, čak i bežični internet. Neka od njih i napredan sustav ventilacije koji može filtrirati radioaktivne čestice.
In Helsinki we have approximately 5,500 individual shelters, and we have sheltering places for one person over 900,000 places. So we are, as Helsinki is 650,000 strong, we have plenty of sheltering places.
Every new house, building house in our big building block in Finland has to have a nuclear safe security facility. Even now, it is expensive, but we will still do it because we are going to survive.
Ulaskom Finske u NATO, granica članica Saveza i Rusije i više će se nego udvostručiti na 2600 km. Pola od toga otpada na Finsku. Duž kopnene granice Finske i Rusije duge čak 1344 km, 9 je graničnih prijelaza. Onaj nekad najfrekventniji, u Imatri, danas je sablasno prazan, a ne tako davno preko njega su vikendom u Finsku dolazile tisuće ruskih turista. Uz veliku potporu javnosti, Finska je posljednja u Europskoj uniji ukinula turističke vize ruskim građanima. Bila je jedina kopnena poveznica preko koje su ulazili na teritorij EU-a autima ili autobusima, a onda mnogi i zrakoplovom nastavljali dalje u zemlje šengenskog prostora. Nakon Putinova proglasa o mobilizaciji, broj Rusa koji radnim danom ulaze u Finsku su uobičajenih 3000 porastao je na 7000, a vikendom s 5 na 8500.
Our government concluded that the fact that Russians are coming here for pleasure traveling, for shopping, it is harming our international political position where we support fully Ukraine, but that could give others the signal that we are at the same time anyway supporting also the Russia while allowing them to travel, for come to shopping, for having a good recreational time in Finland. So in the end, our government decided that it is the international relations that are harmed by this kind of actions, and that is, according to the Schengen Borders Code, something that you can take action upon.
Sada rusko-finsku granicu dnevno prelazi 800 do 1000 Rusa. Režim prelaska u mnogome je sličan onomu na vrhuncu pandemije koronavirusa. Postoje iznimke za članove obitelji, nužna poslovna putovanja, studente. Kao i zbog održavanja nekretnine, ne i uživanja u njoj. Rusi su nekretnine u Finskoj, osobito u Južnoj Kareliji, kupovali inače godinama prije nametanja zapadnih sankcija Kremlju. Plaćali su ih lokalnom stanovništvu i više od tržišne cijene. Kupcima koji nisu građani EU-a dozvolu za kupnju nekretnina u Finskoj izdaje Ministarstvo obrane.
Many Russians bought properties in Finland in order to have properties in safe place because they know that in Russia they are not going to be in a safe place. But of course that can be also a security issue, and the Finnish authorities are looking into those cases and evaluating whether or not that is strategically important location. And there's a Finnish law that allows the defense forces to intervene in these deals, and they can be confiscated.
There are those normal properties or tiny flats or summer cottages. It's one thing, but the other thing is those oligarchs who own very important subjects here in Finland. So it should be considered as a safety threat.
Istok Finske itekako će osjetiti spuštanje nove željezne zavjese na starom kontinentu. Prije pandemije koronavirusa u Lappeenrantu je u prosjeku znalo dolaziti i do 4000 ruskih turista u dnevni šoping. Kada je rublja bila jaka u odnosu na euro, između 2012. i 2014. u najveći grad jugoistočne Finske dolazilo je toliko njih da je pokrenuta internetska stranica na kojoj su objavljivali registarske oznake nepropisno parkiranih ruskih automobila.
The impact of the Russian customers was very important for our region. To put it in figures, it meant €1 million per day that the Russian customers consumed here when it comes to retail and accommodation and restaurants.
Ruski mentalitet upoznao je dok je studirao za inženjera u tadašnjem Leningradu. U Finsku je stigao 1991. nakon što se oženio Finkinjom. Od vlasnika skromnog buvljaka, nekad radeći 16 sati dnevno, nudeći zapadne proizvode ruskim turistima, ovaj Sirijac dogurao je do vlasnika nekoliko trgovina, uključujući veliki trgovački centar uz granicu, u kojemu su donedavno naveliko kupovali Rusi. Prije pandemije imao je 65 radnika, sada ih je 15, jer 4 paketa državne pomoći poduzetnicima bila su kap u moru. Zabrana dolaska ruskih turista u Finsku bacila ga je na koljena. Promet u trgovini sada je 90% manji.
The tourists, they are buying, let's say, everything. And it was a good situation for them because they find here, let's say, better quality and cheaper price. But Finnish who are traveling for refilling their tanks with the fuels, they are much less than the Russian tourists.
Sablasno prazan je i parking ispred trgovačkog centra Car, otvorenog 2018. tik do jednog graničnog prijelaza, prvenstveno za ruske kupce. Vlasnici su morali proglasiti bankrot. Vlada mora izmisliti novi ekonomski model za ovaj dio zemlje, to je sada sasvim jasno.
I don't think that anybody in Finland anymore thinks that we are building the economy based on Russian tourism. So that is a sacrifice, and of course the Finnish government then has to make plans for the border regions. But now when we are joining NATO, the border regions and the livelihoods there becomes a security issue. So it is a high priority that we are going to make sure that those border regions remain solid in the future.
Ovako danas izgleda željeznička postaja u malome pograničnom naselju Vajnikala, oko kilometar udaljena od granice. Potkraj ožujka privremeno je ukinuta linija brzog vlaka koji je godinama 4 puta dnevno prevozio stotine putnika između Helsinkija i Sankt Peterburga za samo 3,5 sata. Kolodvorski kafić sada posjećuju uglavnom pogranični policajci. Nekad je vrvio poduzetnicima i turistima. Preživjeli su koronu, ali ne i rat u Ukrajini.
Train stopped again and we lost around 60% of our customers because we relied heavily on the passenger train traffic. We lost the passengers, we lost the train crews, we lost all the ancillary people who work with that. So that was a big blow. And after that we were sort of hanging on, but then they announced that the cargo traffic is going to stop as well to Russia, and that means that they're gonna essentially make the rest of our customers go away.
Nekoliko mještana koji se vrate ovamo nije dovoljno da posao opstane. Do kraja godine stavit će ključ u bravu i 4 stoljeća postojanja obiteljskog biznisa postaće prošlost. Vila je rođena u Vajnikali, koja je nekad bila samodostatni gradić. Depopulacija je ipak učinila svoje. Kafić u kojemu je još kao dijete pomagao majci u kuhinji, a radio u njemu od svoje 18. ostao je jedino mjesto susreta lokalaca.
I've always had Russian trains go rumble around here. We've had Russian tourists come and go, and Russian truck drivers would bring cargo to the cargo terminal. It was every day, it was normal. Nobody really thought about it twice. And because I've Russian family in Russia, I have relatives there. So it was even more normal for me because I'd go visit them all the time. So this was a really nice place for a person of my background to live in because it would be so easy to travel there. But now I haven't been able to visit them for 3 years. But thankfully we have information technology solutions that we can keep in touch.
Ovo područje ima dodatno znanje kako poslovati s Rusima. U Južnoj Kareliji vole reći da su s godinama s njima pronašli istu frekvenciju. Pridonijela je tomu i ovdašnja ruska zajednica.
There are some 3,000 to 4,000 inhabitants here with Russian origin. They are mainly twin citizens in a way that they are both Finnish and Russian nationalities. Well, they are just ordinary citizens as we are, working here. Their kids go at school here, just ordinary life. They have been adjusting to the Finnish way of living.
Давайте сейчас проверим ваше домашнее задание.
Ruski je prvi jezik u školi istočne Finske. Prije 25 godina osnovali su je političari iz 3 južnokarelijska grada u kojima je i danas prisutna. Ovu školu pohađaju mali Finci koji žele naučiti ruski kao strani jezik, kao i mali Rusi, djeca iz miješanih ili ruskih brakova koji nastavu slušaju na materinskom jeziku. Od početka rata u Ukrajini povećan je upis djece koja su se s roditeljima doselila u Finsku iz Rusije, a koja finski tek počinju učiti. Nekad je omjer postotka finske i ruske djece bio 70-30, sada je 60-40 u korist malih Rusa. Škola istočne Finske privatna je škola, nije u sustavu gradskih škola. Školarine nema, financira je naime Ministarstvo obrazovanja, jer ima poseban zadatak poučavati ruski i rusku kulturu.
The general attitudes probably have some influence on the school or wanting to have Finnish children attending this school. But at the moment we haven't noticed any difference because, but again, we are starting to apply children in January 2023 again for the first grade and preschool. So that's meant to be seen, but I hope that the Finnish parents are educated enough to know that learning the language and learning the culture is completely different from the political point of view that you are supporting the system of a certain government.
Katri Antila, profesorica je ruskoga i engleskoga. Studirala je u SSSR-u, dio radnog vijeka provela u Rusiji. Reći će da je maltretiranje ruske djece u finskim školama bilo i prije, pa su prebacivana u školu kojoj je na čelu. Rat u Ukrajini stavio je pred nju i kolege nove izazove.
I have a lot of Russian-speaking teachers. They are original from Russia. They have been living in Finland for 20 years, 30 years, 15 years. And some of them, they have told me that for example, when they say kiitos in Finnish, which is thank you, in a shop, and somebody hears that they have a foreign accent, they start shouting at them that do you love Putin? And it's very uncomfortable for them. But this is now increasing a lot, that those Russians living in Finland, they feel the hate from the other citizens towards them, Finnish citizens especially.
Fortunately, Finns are quite educated, and most of them, they know that the normal person has nothing to do with what the Russian government are doing. But I have heard some occasions or some experience that Russian stories, somebody is, shouting for them, like, get out of here or something like that. But this is really, really like very rare event.
Many people actually, they keep forgetting that we get the money from the Russians. If you hate the Russians, you don't like the Russians to come, but you keep forgetting that we wouldn't have those services or the shops or the number of things if the Russians wouldn't come. And also there have been some criticism, for example, Russians moving to Finland and the children attending our school. And I'm telling this to people that mainly those people who moved here, they have their business, they opened their business in Lappeenranta. So how many tax money the cities will get from those parents working here and having their children attending the School of Eastern Finland?
U Finskoj živi oko 80.000 stanovnika koji govore ruski. Neki imaju dvojno državljanstvo i rusku i finsku putovnicu. Većina ih živi uz granicu, u nekim gradovima čine 6% ukupne populacije. Lappeenranta, koja ima 73.000 stanovnika, jednako je udaljena od Helsinkija i Sankt Peterburga. Prije rata u Ukrajini glasno se artikulirala ideja o učenju ruskoga kao drugog jezika u nekim školama u Kareliji umjesto službenog švedskog.
We definitely need Russian language and the knowledge of Russia in Finland. I hope this situation doesn't affect that way that we would forget it. And at the same time, I want to say that Putin doesn't own Russian language. It's one of the most spoken languages in Europe, so we should really study that.
Do stjecanja neovisnosti 1917. Finska je više od stoljeća bila dio Ruskog carstva. Zajedničku prošlost potvrđuje i više kipova ruskih careva na helsinškim trgovima. Na trgu Senata kip je cara Aleksandra II. Na onome u helsinškoj luci, takozvani caričin kamen, podignut u čast carice Aleksandre, supruge cara Nikole I. Predsjednica Finsko-ruske udruge, osnovane i prije kraja Drugog svjetskog rata, kaže da je više od 10.000 članova neumorno radilo na kulturnom povezivanju dviju nacija. Zbog rata u Ukrajini, većina projekata sada je zamrznuta.
I have studied Russian language and culture all my life because I'm from the border. It was around 50 meters from my house to the Russian side, so it's been there most of my life. My grandparents, they lived close to St. Petersburg and they escaped during the Finnish war to Finland.
U nekim dijelovima finsko-ruska granica od sredine 14. stoljeća do iza Drugog svjetskog rata mijenjala se čak 8 puta. Posljednji put na štetu Finaca, nakon ruskog prisvajanja pozamašnog dijela finskog teritorija. Danas je Karelija, koja se proteže od obala Bijelog mora do Finskog zaljeva, podijeljena granicom između dviju finskih i dviju ruskih regija. Na području današnje ruske Karelije nastala je Kalevala, ep iz 19. stoljeća na kojemu je izgrađen finski identitet i želja za neovisnom državom.
The loss of Karelia, of course, is felt, and the memories of the Finns that remind us of the dangers of Russia, the eastern neighbor. They encroach on Finnish territory, but it is no longer being discussed that it should be returned because it was repopulated by Russians and the Finns moved away. So the case is closed on that respect, but there's bitterness, of course, felt in the hearts of many Finns over losing of that, and the injustices of winter war. It hasn't gone away.
Karelia is a topic which pops up every once in a while, and it has been popping up already during the war period, that this was also a place they stole from us. And it's very deep in Finnish genetic, could I say, it's kind of a sore in our minds that we have already also lost our territory. And that's probably one of the reasons why we are supporting Ukraine so strongly, because we have pretty much the same background with them.
Brončani spomenik majci Kareliji, koja u rukama drži sina, nalazi se u samom središtu Lappeenrante. Okružuje ga 70 metara crnog granitnog zida s uklesanim imenima oko 5.500 palih heroja koji su pokopani na izgubljenom karelijskom teritoriju ili su nestali i proglašeni mrtvima. Tik do spomenika je vojno groblje na kojemu je pokopano 1.500 vojnika. Na njemu je i spomenik s licem i naličjem. Na jednoj strani roditelji oplakuju sinove poginule u ratu, na drugoj simbolično mlada žena koja je izgubila muža, odlučna da djetetu podari bolju budućnost.
It was a long time ago. It affected my parents, it affected my grandparents. Somehow it also affected me, because I know how my grandfather suffered during the war with all the mental issues there. And also my parents, they had to move to another city in Finland to get away from the war here. And also my grandmother telling that she used to curse in Russian to the Russian soldiers, even though she didn't speak any Russian. So all these talks probably continue living still, and the parents tell their children, the children tell their children.
Na glavnom gradskom platovu spomenik pticama selicama simbolizira masovnu evakuaciju Karelijaca nakon Drugog svjetskog rata. U izbjeglički zbjeg bez povratka krenula je gotovo 1/8 tadašnje ukupne finske populacije, otprilike 400.000 ljudi.
I think in Finland, everyone has some connection that's happening. It's either their grandparents who had to leave or their grandparents who have to fight, both ways. So that's why when the situation in Ukraine started, it was straight away clear to everyone that Finland is standing with Ukraine, and we talked, it's winter war again. We had it the same in winter war. No one believed that we could win Russia. And that's why we support and feel very strongly. And many Ukrainian people have come to Finland because we have opened our homes and hearts to help them. I also did volunteer work all spring in a Ukrainian helping aid center. And I said that 8 years ago someone helped my grandparents, and so now it's my turn to give back the help that they get.
Središte gradića Parikale nalazi se samo 10 km od granice s Rusijom. Nakon Drugog svjetskog rata, trećina teritorija općine predana je Sovjetskom savezu. Karelija je i ovdje bolna tema, ali ona odavno nije tema u finskoj dnevnoj politici, naporima nekih izbjegličkih udruženja usprkos. Službeno se o tome s Rusima posljednji put razgovaralo početkom 70-ih, neslužbeno i tijekom Jelcinove kremaljske ere.
Some things are simply history, and that is history here as well. So that there are still people who were born on the other side of the border in the region of former Finnish Karelia, and they as well say that it is history in their life.
It was something on the table for 50 years. It was on the table, I think, all the time in all the discussions, and many people of my grandparents' age, they lived their whole life talking about when we get Karelia back, so we can move there. It was like in 1990 when the talking stopped.
There are some really elderly people who still remember the war times, who still live here. They might have lost properties, when the new borders were drawn. But yeah, there's a lot of really unserious rhetoric with the Finns that, okay, maybe we should, pull some kind of deal and get Karelia back or something. But it's not realistic. It's played for jokes. Nobody is actually wanting that back, I think.
Danas u Finskoj živi oko 1 milijun stanovnika karelijskih korijena. U Finskoj karelijskoj udruzi, osnovanoj odmah nakon Zimskog rata, do početka 60-ih riješili su egzistencijalna pitanja izbjeglih Karelijaca, a potom se posvetili očuvanju svega kulturnog nasljeđa. Karelijski jezik danas govori jedva 5000 Finaca. Starije generacije donedavno su zdušno radile na razmjeni mladih s ruskom stranom.
In our groups there are many children that one parent is from Finland and the other parent is from Russia. There are many families that have two nations, so the movement in the border has always been back and forth. I know it's scarce now, but it also makes sometimes a little sad that the normal people who have visited and lived here for decades are now like enemies. It's worrying, but I understand where it comes from.
Finska od svih članica EU-a, uskoro i NATO-a, ima najdulju granicu s Rusijom. Iza nove godine kreće pilot projekt postavljanja ograde na manjem dijelu, uglavnom na jugoistoku zemlje. Ondje gdje je najizloženija kremaljskim hibridnim prijetnjama i mogućem manipuliranju izbjegličkim ili azilantskim zbjegovima. Izgradnja cjelokupne ograde trajaće 3 do 4 godine.
At the moment said that we will fence between 10 to 20% of the Finnish border, that is 130 to 260 kilometers. It is obvious that 1 kilometer of such fence is extremely costly. Not only the fence, but the technical surveillance and path also there. From Estonia, we learned that it's more than 1 million euros per kilometer in their conditions, whether in Finland it's more or less. So we talk about hundreds of millions of euros.
There was a iron curtains for decades. So in that sense, this fence is something that is similar to that iron curtain, although there was no physical curtain or fence at that time, but it's pretty much the same.
If it is a fundamental security issue, then it should be built. It is expensive, but it seems to have its uses in stopping flows of people, like what happened in the border between Lithuania, Poland and Belarus.
35 km od ruske granice u Hamini u povodu 100. obljetnice finske neovisnosti podignuta je najveća finska zastava na svijetu. Naravno, ne slučajno, vidi se i na ruskoj strani. U luci Hamina, iz koje je donedavno išao tranzit robe za Rusiju, počeo je s radom prvi i jedini finski LNG terminal izravno povezan s nacionalnom plinovodnom mrežom. Trebao bi dijelom zamijeniti dotok ukapljenog plina iz Rusije. Prije rata u Ukrajini, Finska je inače uvozom energenata iz Rusije pokrivala nešto više od trećine svojih ukupnih energetskih potreba.
We're not totally dependent on Russian gas anymore because we have a interconnector, we have a pipeline to Estonia, and this gives us the possibility to import gas from LNG ship, which is in Lithuania.
Finska trgovina s Rusijom, koja se uvelike zasnivala na energentima, prepolovljena je već nakon aneksije Krima 2014. Uoči invazije na Ukrajinu, na Rusiju je otpadalo tek 5% finskog izvoza.
The Finns, they know that we have to make some sacrifices as well. So when it comes to the economic benefits of Russia, much of that has been already lost. And those decisions, cutting the energy flows to Finland, cutting the business ties to Russia, they have been done because we know that it is necessary.
When your society is resilient, you can have SISU, so-called that guts to encounter the difficulties. And of course, I truly hope that our society is still at the moment up to these challenges, because they can be enormous. We already see that we may need to limit the use consumption of electricity. What other kind of issues we will face, we never know.
We are paying our dues when it comes to the past mistakes, and I'm sure that this is going to be a generational event. We are going to remember this for a long time. When it comes to rebuilding the Russia relations in the future, I think that we are going to be very cautious on Russia.
I don't know if there will be a day that I can visit there in my lifetime, and I have decades left. And I say that I hope that my children have a chance to go there someday. I don't believe that I'll be doing that before retirement. I think it takes tens of years before the relationships are back, if ever.
Najstariju finsku turističku atrakciju, golem vodopad i brzace najveće finske hidrocentrale, one u Imatri, razgledavali su donedavno i brojni ruski turisti, jer samo 7 km odavde, preko granice, ruski je grad prijatelj Svetogorsk. Imatra i Svetogorsk bili su jedini gradovi prijatelji na granici EU-a i Rusije. Sada je to prijateljstvo zakopano negdje duboko na dnu ove rijeke. U znak prosvjeda protiv ruske invazije na Ukrajinu, prije uobičajena puštanja glazbe finskog velikana Sibeliusa, u Imatri su ovoga ljeta puštali ukrajinsku himnu.
I think that parallel is with Ukraine and what happened there. There's actually a lot of similarities between the winter war and the Ukrainian conflict right now. So I think people are drawing parallels from that. And that was, I wager that was probably the biggest single push that people realized, okay, we need to be in NATO, because the last time we weren't in a military alliance, we almost lost our independence. So I think that's also my policy, that we should not repeat the same mistake again if we have a choice to do something differently now.
They need also money, they need innovation, they need investments in the eastern parts and northern parts of Finland. If we want to have a strong border, we need to have strong communities living on the border, and that's a national security issue. And I'm sure that the Finns are, we have the history of dealing with Russia, so we understand the importance of having solid communities there.
Especially in this area and in Finland, we understand the Russians. We have been living with them, we have been working with them, we have been negotiating with them for centuries. So I think in Europe we are the best ones to know the Russians.
Russia is not going to be part of Finnish future as it used to be in the past. So Russia is not a normal actor, and Russian businesses are not normal businesses. They're going to be earmarked for geopolitical purposes, and that is a recognition that has now become very much part of the Finnish discussions.
Iza prepoznatljivoga finskog križa na samo 200 km zračne udaljenosti od Sankt Peterburga kupola je najveće pravoslavne katedrale u zapadnoj Europi. Zapravo i ne iznenađuje što je upravo u Helsinkiju otvoren centar izvrsnosti Europske unije za suočavanje s hibridnim prijetnjama.
We are not especially afraid of them. Being a NATO member, hopefully in the future, would be great because it gives them protection, the nuclear umbrella which the NATO can provide its members.
I feel quite secure, and for several reasons. We have a strong defense, and we have a strong popular support for defense, which is, and people are not nervous. People are worried, but they're not nervous.
I'm a bit afraid they will attack, but I know we are strong. So if they attack, I know that we can like put a fight on because we have so many soldiers and we are good trained. So I'm afraid about the attack, but not about we're losing. I think we would win.
Due to the geopolitical reasons going on, I don't think Russia will be capable of attacking Finland anytime nearby. So maybe like in 10-15 years, depending on how the world turns out, there might be some kind of new threat. But, with Ukraine going on and Russia not really doing too much out there, I think we're pretty safe right now.
I would say that we are raised up in a way to have guts, and we know our history very well. And the SISU has helped us in many difficult situations during the past times, and thinking about our history. And it's something that we bury inside that SISU feeling, and it's very important for us. And all the Finns recognize this SISU. SISU Finns, I would say.
SISU is the thing in Finland, in us, inside of us, like the will of fighting and the will of you wanting to do good things and fight for your lives. And yeah, it has helped me a lot to the tough times in the winter, like minus 30 degrees in the woods, doing my my practices and stuff.
In a way, it's also a part of our national pride. We have to fight until the end before we give up being Finnish. So it's just this drive inside of us.
This is kind of a legacy that we carry from our grandfathers and grandmothers, maybe, and it keeps us going. And if there will be something like a war or battles, we will carry them on with this SISU thing.
It's kind of a Finnish power that we have inside. We are a small nation and we were quite good in the war back then. We beat them, so I think we will beat them again. If there's this situation, we should try that.
I think it's in our system. It's SISU. It's more than guts. SISU is that you believe in yourself, and when you see an obstacle, you go through it. Not under or over, but through it. And you never fell down. Even if you have fallen down, you get up and say that, God damn it, I go again.
Ovako je Helsinki obilježavao 100-godišnjicu finske neovisnosti 2017. Iz perspektive starih europskih nacija to možda zvuči malo, ali naciji s povijesne i geografske vjetrometine više od stoljeća odoljevanja svakoj vrsti naleta čini se poput vječnosti. Sva finska povijest može se sažeti u jednu riječ – SISU i preživljavanje, pragmatično, uz sposobnost čitanja ruskog uma bolje od drugih, i prije i poslije članstva u NATO-u.